Welcome back. So I might as well just say LINQ is kind of mind-blowing. It's very hard to comprehend in the beginning. I remember the first time I saw LINQ I was so confused. But when you start using LINQ a lot combined with these what we call lambda expressions, notice this is a lambda expression and this is one of the LINQ functionalities that we have available. And when you start using this more and more, it just starts making sense. It's just like learning SQL the first time. The more you work with it, the easier it is to do the actual lambda expression or LINQ request that you require. And actually LINQ have a built-in system where you can actually do pretty much things that look almost the same as SQL. We won't do that right now, but I'll try and explain it in later videos. But let's try and run over this once more because this is very important you comprehend what's actually going on right here. What I'm doing here is I want to actually find the first customer inside this list that matches this ID. And we've done that previously by doing the for each, saying for each customer, check the ID. If that is the ID, do something, right? But what we've done here is we've done instead the same idea. It's exactly the same idea, but we're saying instead LINQ already provided something that can access each customer for us with just by writing first or default. They made a kind of a method for us that I can just execute to actually run something to find the first customer. Now what do I need to provide to actually get the customer? Well, I need to provide some kind of information about how do you know it's the right customer. And in our case I'm going to use X represents the what should we call the customer, and then we can actually do here the check if the customer should be returned or not. Yeah. So let's try and do another call here where we do the exact same thing just to show there's a lot of ways to do this. But instead of actually finding the customer using the first or default, we'll use the first. Like this. So notice it's exactly the same thing. The only difference is if I'm not putting in the or default, I'll actually throw an exception here. So notice this would cause an exception if I don't find the right customer. And that might make sense in our application, so we could throw an exception up the system and say something is very wrong. The first or default will not throw an exception, instead it'll just return a null. So I'll just keep that one for now. Another thing I could do is I could use the where clause. So now I'm actually doing the exact same thing as up here. I'm saying I want to return a customer where the ID matches the customer's ID. If I mouse over here, I'll actually get not only one customer, but I'll actually get a list of customers. So I would have to call something called toList to actually get a list of customers back. And now I actually have a list of customers available that match the ID. Now notice the difference here is I'm not only getting the first customer now, I'm getting all the customers with that ID. And that might make sense later on if we want to kind of start searching the database for specific things, right? Like we want to find all with the first name that starts with John. Then we could use a where clause. I'll get back to it. I just want to kind of give you guys an overview that you can do a lot of things with LINQ. And that gives you a lot of, it makes it easier to work with the software, but it also gives you a lot of, should I say, a lot of power, which means of course a lot of power is equal to a lot of possibilities. So you have to figure out what should be the right possibility for your exact solution. So enough talking, let's just finish this up. I would now say if a customer, if cost not null, then I would kind of do the same thing that we have down here. So if the customer is not null, then just return the fake customer right here, and then I can remove all of this. There we go, it's gone. Now the customer I should return is of course now cost instead, like this, and cost. Now you'll notice that a few lines just disappeared with the for each loop, and again in the beginning this is harder to read than a for each loop, but work with it. Keep on working with it, and at some point you will definitely learn how to do this. I'm not quite satisfied with the remove solution or the delete solution yet. We can make it even less code, so let's try something else in the next lesson.